Hi, I'm Jess Burke, Director of Marketing and Communications with the International Society for Heart and Lung Transplantation, and we are back with the video edition of 5 questions. I'm here today with Nancy Law from the University of California at San Diego. Good afternoon, Nancy.
Hi.
So let's start with the basics today. Who are you? Where do you work? And tell us about your role in the transplant community in ISHLT.
Okay, so I am Nancy Law. I am one of the transplant infectious disease providers over at Sunny University of California, San Diego. And my role in ISHLT is I'm one of the junior faculty members, and I trying to get into a large part of the infectious disease committee group there.
Well, fantastic. So what drew you to ISHLT? Why did you get involved? And what's keeping you here?
So one of my great mentors at UCSD, Saima Aslam, is a large contributor and figure in ISHLT in the infectious disease community. And so she actually kind of recommended that I join. One big thing that she had pointed out is ISHLT is actually very junior faculty friendly. And I felt that was something that I missed from other organizations. And so after joining there, I definitely feel that from ISHLT. And then what kind of keeps me here is all the actual external mentors that I kind of met at different conferences or just through networking. And it's just a great group.
Absolutely. And it's so good to hear that, junior faculty feel supported in this community. So tell us a little bit, what inspired your career path? How did you start doing what you do?
So I think I might be one of the only Chinese families where my parents were slightly against me becoming a doctor. So they actually pushed me away. They wanted me to be a journalist because they think I have I tend to talk to people a lot and able to get a lot of information that way. And so I actually was going to go get my PhD first. But then during a vacation in the summer, I actually volunteered to work in Haiti in an AIDS orphanage. And so during my summer vacation there, I actually got exposed to my first kind of dose of infectious disease. And this was working with, different babies and infants who had been diagnosed with HIV through transmission from their mothers. And so I actually got taken under someone's wing, one of the physicians there, and he kind of was like, do you want to come and look at things? After getting that kind of exposure, I really didn't think that basic science research was for me, and so kind of actually took 2 years off and decided to pursue medical school. And so I ended up going to medical school, and then I've always kind of been interested in infectious disease just because of my previous missionary trips and travel exposures. And then also my family is immigrants from Hong Kong and Taiwan, and our families have come over, and a lot of them have been diagnosed with like latent tuberculosis or other different types of infectious diseases. And so that was also something that kind of directly correlated with my heart and my passion and desires. And so ended up pursuing an infectious disease fellowship. And then there, my first rotation at my infectious disease fellowship was actually transplant infectious disease. And I was just like, oh my God, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, I remember my first page I got was someone who was like, they have a multi-drug resistant urinary, culture. What do we give them? And it was a kidney transplant patient. I was just like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I've never even heard of some of these drugs. And so after doing that, I kind of just fell in love with it because I felt like transplant ID really makes you think outside the box. And it really pushes you and challenges you to kind of think about other methods or other types of drugs or things that we don't use all the time and routinely. It is a challenge every day. So
Yeah, and once you've been exposed to that kind of challenge, I think writing headlines and bylines might not satisfy that. So
exactly.
Well, that's a wonderful story. Do you have a meaningful milestone either in your career or in the field in general that you'd like to share or talk about?
Yeah, I think my biggest and proudest accomplishment was actually being accepted to the University of Toronto Transplant Infectious Disease Fellowship there. was a huge honor because, well, when I was doing, transplant fellowships, there was actually only 6 in the whole kind of North American continent. And so, being picked to be the fellow at Toronto in the #1 transplant program there was really a huge accomplishment for me. And so I think after going there too and being able to be trained by the top kind of ID doctors in the field really helped me too. And that just brought on more and more great mentorship and networking that I was able to accomplish.
That's fantastic. So when you think about, right now with ID, everyone has COVID on the brain, but when you think about the future of infectious disease and transplant ID in particular, what do you see on the horizon?
So my big kind of goal right now is I actually run the antimicrobial stewardship program for immunocompromised hosts at UCSD. And so I think what we'll start to see is really targeted ASP programs for this specific population, is because you can't apply general ASP kind of styles or anything like that to the immunocompromised host. So I think we'll start to see that. But in that aspect too, is I think, one of my partners, Dr. Oslam too, she does a lot of bacteriophage therapy. So I think what we're going to kind of see is individualized antibiotics or individualized antimicrobial development. And I think that's where we're going to kind of see the next step of infectious disease.
It's an exciting future. So when you set aside those, complex views of the future, let's take it back to you and what's personal. What's your idea of a perfect weekend when you're not saving lives? What are you doing?
So I am a new mom. So I have
Congratulations.
a 1-year-old at home. So I think the perfect weekend would be, living in San Diego, we love the beach. So taking my family to the beach and then letting my daughter play without having tantrums would really be great at this time. And just enjoying really good food. My family owned a Chinese restaurant when I was growing up. So food has always been something that's a big part of my life, and enjoying really good Chinese food. So
Yeah,
it'd be like home cooked Peking duck. And that's it.
a
Pretty simple.
tantrum-free Peking duck at the beach. I'm in.
Exactly. Pretty easy.
Perfect. Well, Nancy, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. This has really been a lovely introduction. It's great to meet you, and I'm so excited to see what you get up to next, both in your field and with us at ISHLT.
Awesome. Thank you, Jess.
Thank you.